Welcome to Dodge City First United Methodist Church, observance of Good Friday. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God. All things were made through him, and without him not one thing came into being. In him was life, and the life was the light of all. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness does not overcome it. The true light which enlightens everyone is coming into the world. He is in the world, and the world came into being through him. Yet the world did not know him. One day Jesus walked by the Sea of Galilee and saw two brothers, Simon, who is called Peter, and Andrew. They were casting nets into the sea. And he said, "Follow me, and I will make you fish for people." Immediately they left their nets and followed him. As he went from there, he saw two other brothers, James and John, in a boat, and they were mending their nets. And he called to them, and immediately they left their nets and followed him. The next day, Jesus found Philip, and he said to him, "Follow me." Now Philip went and found his friend Nathanael, and he said, "Come and see. I have found the one whom Moses in the law and the prophets wrote, Jesus, the son of Nazareth." Jesus went around the sea, and he had a whole crowd following him. And he saw a Levite named Levi sitting at a tax booth. And he said to him, "Follow me." And immediately Levi got up and followed. Jesus also called Bartholomew, Matthew, Thomas, James, Thaddeus, Simon, and Judas Iscariot, who betrayed him. One day Jesus gathered his disciples together, and he said, I speak these words to you, that everything is written in the law of Moses and the prophets will be fulfilled. The Messiah is to suffer and rise from the dead on a third day. That day of repentance and forgiveness for sins is to be proclaimed to all of the nations. Now the Pharisees were disturbed that Jesus would say these things. So they took to the Sanhedrin and then took Jesus before the Roman governor, Pilate. And they made their charge against Jesus. They said, "We found this man perverting our nation. He was forbidding us to pay taxes to the emperor and proclaiming himself to be the anointed king." So the governor, Pilate, asked Jesus directly, "Are you the king of the Jews?" Jesus said, "You say so." "Have you no answer to give?" Pilate said. Jesus astonished Pilate by remaining silent. It was the custom at the festival of Passover to give a prisoner to the Hebrews. "Who do you want me to release, Barabbas or Jesus, the anointed one?" "Barabbas!" the crowd cried. "Well, what do you want me to do with Jesus, the anointed one?" "Crucify him! Crucify him!" "Well, what about your king?" "We have no king but Caesar!" And Pilate washed his hands. So they took Jesus and went out to a place called the Skull. And they began to crucify him with one criminal on either side. The soldiers took his garments and made 4 parts, one for each. But his tunic, which was without seam, they said, "Let us not tear it, but rather cast lots for it." Now the soldiers did this, and standing by the cross of Jesus were his mother and his mother's sister and Mary Magdalene. When Jesus saw his mother and the disciple whom he loved, he said, "Woman, behold your son." Then he said to his disciple, "Behold your mother." After this, knowing that all was now finished, he said, "I thirst." A bowl full of vinegar stood nearby. So they put a sponge of vinegar on a hyssop rod and held it to his mouth. And at the ninth hour, Jesus cried out with a loud voice, saying, my God, why hast thou forsaken me?" For a brief moment in history, the eternal light did go out. With a dead Christ, there is nothing left to be said.